Hey y'all, Toad here. Well, Isaac has passed. So I'm going to make the final video about a bunch of things, just what equipment we used, what we did, and pretty much finish the story. Well, as far as the equipment, our primary generator is this Onan 6K. Now, this is one of the old air-cooled units. You saw it running when I turned the fuel on, in another video. And this is our primary, is what we call it because it's bigger. But we actually don't use it during the storms. And the reason being is because it is bigger and it runs on diesel fuel. And this is the only diesel piece of equipment we have besides my sailboat. So when you fill that up, it doesn't have any place to go. So what we usually do, and let me get you over to the other generator. We use this little guy, and it's in case you can't read, it's a Honda EU 2000i, and this supplies all our needs during the storm. That's pretty much, we turtle. We put everything away. This little guy has its exhaust pointing out a very almost lowered garage door and is chained down, so it doesn't walk away by wind or thief. And this pretty much produces everything we need, and it runs on gasoline. So like in this storm, of course all the storms are evaluated different. This was a Cat 1. This one we made the assumption it was going to be out relatively quick, which turned out not to be true, as y'all well know. And the fuel we buy for this one can of course be recycled into our vehicles when the storm is over. Now, for the record, I bought 4 6-gallon containers of gasoline for this. So we had 24 gallons of fuel. We ran it for what? 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we don't run it 24 hours. We run it from about 7 a.m. till about 9 or 10 p.m. and I'll get up in the middle of the night and run it for an hour or so just to keep the refrigerator and the freezer done. And honestly, we didn't even get through one of the 6-gallon containers. So we have that fuel to put back in our vehicles. And just as a quick overview, 2,000 watt, we get around here. Just got a couple of receptacles, a place to recharge a battery, 12-volt battery, and these are the model that can be daisy chained together to theoretically get 4,000 watts. I think when you do that, it really only turns out to be about 38, but that's something we're considering, is grabbing a second one, because this one belongs to me and my roommate wants one for camping. So we're kicking that idea around. And what we run into the house with are these. Now these live here all the time. These are two 12-gauge 3-prong extension cords. They're 100 foot each. Now these, like I said, these live here all the time because, quite frankly, that shed is not electrified yet, and I do a lot of work out in the yard. So those are there all the time. And we just unplug them from there. The garage is actually right behind me, and we plug them into this little guy, turn him on, and then we distribute power through the house, which is where we're going to go next. Alright, well, that's the door that leads to the garage, and the 2 lines would be coming in here. Excuse me, just one would be coming in here, and it would go to the refrigerator and then branch off into the nest, which you saw in an earlier video. And this is where battery chargers and the laptop, cell phones, a couple of lights, the radio. This time we were using this DeWalt rechargeable radio. It obviously runs the 18-volt batteries, which we keep them going. And of course, it runs the fish tank. This is a big deal for us. Gotta take care of the fish. Some people, have their dogs and cats and whatnot. These guys gotta stay bubbling They got to have their oxygen. So, you know, we didn't have the lights hooked up, but just the filters and bubblers were running for these guys. And then if the net is up, I had my laptop sitting there because, quite frankly, one of my neighbors has an open, I guess they got a dish. So I was able to stay going a little bit before that went away. And there's also radio equipment right there. And then the other nest where the desktop is. And there's a APU attached to that I can run. I can run about an hour, maybe 2, on the APU, depending upon what I turn off and turn on. But I try not to do that. So that's pretty much all we ran inside the house. We're fortunate in that we have natural gas. So cooking, not a problem. You know, had to light them with a barbecue lighter. But yeah, we were actually I was putting up peppers, and I put up some eggs. I did some other stuff. You know, got to stay busy. You know, you can't just sit around. It was boring as it was, because there's a lot of activities you can't do when you're waiting out a storm like that. But cooking and eating was not a problem, and I did cheat. Now the refrigerator only had to be run 2 or 3 times a day, but the generator's already running. So every once in a while I'd unplug the refrigerator and yeah, no. Gotta have coffee. It's just all there is to it. So that was the simplified Toad home, and that's pretty much what we did for 4 days. It really is. It's not difficult. A minor inconvenience. All right, let's go back out by the big generator. All right, well, we're back out here by the awning, and you know, probably asking yourself, why go through all that trouble to run that little generator when you got this big guy? Well, not only, like I mentioned before, is the fuel a little bit more precious and not as easy to recycle if we don't need it, but you know, this thing is loud and it's rude, and the only thing we really need this for is for the central air conditioning on the house. And you know, that sounds like a luxury, but quite frankly, it's not. And that's a big deal here, because let me kind of pan around a little bit here. We've got a little bit of cloud cover today, but it is real common, and I mean really common, for the 3, 4, 5 days after a hurricane to be hot and horribly cloudless. In fact, heat and lack of water is what cost a lot of people their lives around the turn of the last century when they had a hurricane in Galveston. So our plan was to run the little Honda. We assumed it would only be a day or so, which turned out to be wrong. It was 4 because of the slow-moving nature of the storm. And then fire this up if the storm got by faster than the power came back on. As it turned out, didn't need it at all. But, you know, as any prepper will tell you, it's certainly better to have it and not need it than the other way around. And the other old adage is, you know, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So having a primary and a backup generating system is pretty cool. Well, I know somebody's going to ask about damage. Quite frankly, just about none. Thank God. This part of the garden took a pretty good pounding. Those tomato plants are messed up and unhappy. These pieces, which I didn't know my roommate had not attached them, they fell over and had to be removed, and squished the cucumbers, some of the cucumbers out of there a little bit. But I think those will come back. These peppers, not too bad. These tomatoes, I'm not so sure that they're going to make it. Beat pretty hard. And there's some cauliflower down in there that I wish would get going, but it hasn't yet. As far as the other ones, well, these tomatoes, it was time anyway. Got some Boston cucumbers down in there. This tomato plant, he had a lot of pieces break off of him. We'll just have to wait and see. I think he'll come back okay. And my hopefully future wall of cucumbers. They're fine now. I went ahead and unwound them from their string. Actually, wait a minute, now I think about that, I actually built this right before the storm, so I never even wound them on there. That's what it is. I had to untangle them from each other. They got tangled up pretty bad. And now they're just starting to run up the string. Let's go out front. Alright, out here in the front yard, you know, we saw we had just little bitty branches and stuff. This one big guy, you saw him in an earlier video. I'm going to drag him out back and cut him up. And this little oak tree gave us a bunch of sticks. I mean, just next to nothing. However, my pepper plants are a different story. I guess denuded is a pretty good way to put this. I do not know if these are going to come back. You know, my buddy J0 likes to say, you know, the plant wants to live. Well, this is going to be a test. This side here is not quite as bad. And I mean not quite. It's pretty bad. It's beat up pretty horribly. But will they come back? Heck, I don't know. I may just have to clean this out and start over again. So, all in all, damage about as close to 0 as you can get. But I will have to say, my blueberries looking pretty happy. Storm knocked over one for a second. No big deal. Put it back. But those blueberries might need some transplanting. Alright, moving on. Alright, my buddy Ray asked about the guitars a while back, so I'll go ahead and let y'all look at them while I wrap this up. Mostly because most of my usual places are covered in stuff right now. So, Hurricane Issac. Well, it really did come down to the prepping. It really was. You know, vehicles were full of fuel. We had plenty of fuel for generating our own power. We had, you know, primary and backup for generating our own power. We only used what we needed as far as power went. Lighting, you know, for us 3 or 4 days of using flashlights and headlights, you know the headlights I'm talking about, like for camping, the LED headlights, I use them for hiking and camping. We just break them out for this, and we find them easier to use than flashlights. The generator, either one of them, puts out more than enough power to keep the rechargeables going. So no doubt about it, you know, we would recommend having several rechargeable batteries. I've got at least a dozen of each, the 2 sizes I concentrate on, AA and AA and AAA. So, you know, personal lighting was not a problem. We didn't have to light up areas outside of the room that I'm sitting in now, and that's more for comfort than necessity. It's just nice to have at least one room lit up, and that's what we did. As far as food, I mean, we had, you know, the stove never went away, the gas never went away. So if it had, we have 2 of the multi-fuel stoves from Coleman we can cook on. Didn't have to bring them out, and even if we had, God knows we had well over right up at 100 gallons of fuel available to us. So that, you know, we knew, we've been through this so many times that unless you get hit directly by a tornado or some other, you know, extremely unfortunate thing occurs with one of these storms, you count on a couple of weeks, and we were prepared. I mean, if nothing else, it was just a little bit of boredom, because it does interrupt your routine. So, you know, Issac, as storms go, it was easy. It was just a matter of putting the plan into place and going through it, taking it step by step, and we didn't have a hard time at all. Now, we did have a couple of equipment failures that I'm already starting to look into, and power strips. I do not know why but we had 3 power strips fail when the electricity came back on. I don't know if there was a surge or whatnot, but more importantly, our central air conditioning system doesn't appear to be working, and neither is our doorbell. And I'm hoping the repairs won't be too expensive, but of course it's a holiday weekend now, so we're not going to bother until later. And it hasn't gotten super hot. It hasn't hit 90 or anything like that. We got ceiling fans, so we're fine. But once I find out what happened with that, I'm going to do one more quick video on it, because that was awkward. I'm glad that the power strips all failed, because none of the equipment that was plugged into the power strips, including the amp and guitars and stuff you see, all the amplifiers and stereo equipment you see here, none of it was damaged. I won't go through it. Those 2 other power strips had equipment on them. None of the equipment was damaged, but it's possible that there was some kind of power surge that, along with eating the power strips, may have damaged the control systems on the doorbell and and maybe the thermostat for our central heating and air. So we'll have to wait that out and see what the deal is after the holiday's over. Well, look, I want to thank y'all for taking the time to watch this series of videos. I don't know how long I'll keep them up. We'll just have to wait and see. It's not very dramatic footage. It's just what it looks like down here when you're dealing with a storm, the kind of stuff that happens as it happens. That's why it's coming out much later. Obviously, I couldn't upload it when it was going on. So, again, thanks to y'all, and hopefully we won't have to do this again for a while. All right? Be well, y'all. See you next time around.